You know, in our world of just constant pings, notifications, and a million distractions, trying to find real focus can feel, well, impossible. But what if the secret wasn't some new app or productivity hack, but a really ancient path to a crystal clear mind? Let's dive in and see how it works. So let's start with the big question, right? How do you actually calm a restless mind? It's a question people have been asking for thousands of years. It's this universal human challenge. And it turns out an ancient text, the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, gives us a starting point that is just surprisingly simple. It's accessible to absolutely everyone. And that brings us to the very first practical instruction for getting that mental calm we're all looking for. It's found in Sutra 1.39, and honestly, it's the simple start to this whole journey. Okay, so what does it say? Just this. Or by meditation on anything that appeals to one is good. I mean, that's it. No complicated rituals, no strict rules. The starting block is simply to focus on something that you genuinely find appealing. The freedom here is what's so powerful. Anything good is totally up to you. Maybe it's a place you love, or some stunning scenery you remember. It could even be an idea, like compassion or courage. The key thing to get is that what you focus on, it matters a lot less than the simple act of focusing itself. Okay, so you do this simple practice. What happens next? Well, it leads to a pretty profound result. Let's jump to the next sutra, 140, and see how this builds into a real expansion of your consciousness. And here's the payoff. The text says, the mind becomes unobstructed from the atomic to the infinite. So this isn't just about feeling calm. It's about developing a new kind of mental superpower. Your mind gets this amazing flexibility to move its focus effortlessly across any scale. What does that actually mean? Well, it means the very same mind that can contemplate the atomic, the tiniest little detail, can just as easily expand to think about the infinite, the biggest concepts you can imagine. It's kind of like a camera lens that can zoom from a super close-up macro shot to a massive panoramic view in just an instant. And this new flexibility, this new superpower, it has one very specific effect. The mind waves become fainter. You know all that internal chatter, that constant stream of thoughts? It finally starts to quiet down. And that is the whole goal. So when those waves get faint enough, the mind enters this really remarkable state, which is described in Sutra 1.41. And this is where we get this beautiful metaphor of the mind becoming a crystal. The sutra describes the mind as becoming like the crystal before different colored objects. Just imagine a perfectly clear crystal. If you put a red flower next to it, the crystal looks red. A blue one, it looks blue. It doesn't judge, it doesn't add anything. It just purely reflects whatever is right there in front of it. Now, this crystal-like state is only possible when the mind's waves, or Vrttis as they're called in Sanskrit, when they become powerless. Once that mental chatter is under control, the mind stops distorting reality and starts reflecting it perfectly. In this state, three things that are normally totally separate start to merge. You've got the receiver, which is you, the observer, yourself. Then there's the receiving, that's the process, your mind itself. And finally, there's the received, which is the object of your focus. In deep meditation, these three actually become one. The Sanskrit term for this is samapatti, and it basically means concentratedness and sameness. It is that state where your mind gets so absorbed in what it's focusing on that it takes on the qualities of that object, just like that crystal taking on the color of the flower. So what is this crystal mind actually capable of? Well, the next sutra gives us a really specific example from a deep state of meditation, and it shows how our whole perception of reality can fundamentally change. This particular state is called savitarka samadhi. You can translate that as samadhi with reasoning. It's a specific kind of meditative absorption where the mind is actually analyzing the basic components of an object. How does that work? Okay, think about any word, like tree. Normally, your mind separates the sound of the word tree, its meaning, the leafy plant, and all your knowledge about trees. But in this state of deep focus, those lines just collapse. The sound, the meaning, and the knowledge are no longer seen as separate things, but as one single unified reality. So, why does any of this ancient wisdom matter to us right now, in our busy, modern lives? Let's bring it all together. What's the big takeaway? This ancient path creates this really powerful progression. It starts super simply, right? Just by focusing on something good. That calms the mind. Then, that calmness builds into this ability to focus on both the tiny details and huge concepts, and eventually, your mind starts to reflect reality clearly, without distortion, which lets you become completely one with whatever you choose to focus on.
And this brings us to the ultimate goal. See, it's not just about relaxation. It's about achieving clarity, razor-sharp focus, and a true, deep understanding of whatever you place your attention on, whether that's a project at work, a relationship, or a personal goal.
Which leaves us with one final thought. If your mind were a perfectly clear crystal, totally free from distraction and distortion, what would you choose to place before it?